Brilliant. Hi, everyone. So I'm really excited about doing this interview with Helen. Had a few conversations with her about alcohol over the years, but yeah, so we're going to have a little chat about alcohol, see where that takes us. For any of you that know Helen, you'll know that her lives with wine are very popular, and she also sells wine. So you're probably thinking, why are you having this conversation? I'm going to let Helen introduce herself, and all will become clear.
Amazing. Thanks, Stephanie. Yeah, so I'm Helen Tudor, as was Helen Pritchard. Yes, very famous for Live with Wine. Got my own my own wine brand. And I've lived a life full of alcohol, basically, since I was about 11 years old. I've been drinking, and it's been a huge part of my life. My family all love a drink. My in-laws love a drink. My husband loves a drink. And it's just been a huge part of my life. So it's kind of been massively part of my identity for a long time, and then something weird happened, and I don't know what.
So tell me, how was that for you? So did you enjoy the drinking?
Well, of course, like I do. Yeah, so I'm going to get back into where I was, right, rather than where I am now. So yeah, I love drinking. I loved to drink. I drank when I was happy, drank when I was sad, drank when I was with loads of people, drank when I was on my own. Like, never would I have said I had a problem with drink. But I guess all problem drinkers say that, right? But it was just, I was drinking, yeah? The only time I really thought the time when I thought I'm starting to use this. So I'm quite good at being very observant with myself. So over the years, I've always been like, I'm Helen, I love a drink, and that's fine. That's part of who I am, right? And obviously we've met a few years back, and it was kind of like, oh, cool, like, sobriety is really cool and it's trendy now and everyone's talking about it and it sounds great, and it's just not for me, right? That was kind of where I was at. And because I'd never got into a position where I was drinking in the day or drinking in the morning or drinking, I was never like, I was always like a classy problem drinker, right? But I did start to notice, like, a lot of people drank a bit more in lockdown, I guess. But then when we came out of lockdown, I fell in love. So a lot of our relationship was built around, going to the pub and having a drink. And we were very much like, we finished work, we both worked really hard. So come home, we'd have a drink together, and that'd be our kind of wind down. So it's really ingrained, really, really ingrained. What I realized was, after lockdown, what happened with my business was we had a really good 2020. 2021, when we came out of lockdown and we went into the cost of living crisis, it caused loads of problems in my business, like loads of cash flow problems. Loads of people sort of stopping paying payment plans, and just loads of problems generally. And it just caused a real seismic flow problem. And I got really stressed. So I was like, I was still working and I was kind of worried about stuff, and, got HMRC to deal with. And what I found was that I was starting to wait for 5 o'clock. And that's when I thought, that isn't great. That's when I thought, I can take a view of myself. I can see I'm under a lot of stress. I'm under a lot of pressure, but I am using that 5 o'clock to start having a drink and to get to my point of drinking, which was always glass of wine at 5 o'clock, glass of wine while I'm cooking my dinner, 2 glasses of wine, glass of wine with my dinner, 3 glasses of wine. So that's half a bottle going up to maybe 3/4 of a bottle every night. And that got me to a point where I was going to bed at so I was eating my tea late, going to bed late, sort of early, but just going straight, passing out. Does that make sense? Well, you'll know all this. So I was kind of I was functioning, I was fine, and I was talking to everyone, everything was fine. I'm not like ricocheting around the house, but I was just going to bed at 10, half 10, and then passing out, and then waking up at 4 a.m. Every single morning for ages. And then as soon as I woke up, started worrying about business, start worrying about, we just moved house, blah, 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 money, this, that, the other, business, because it's all interlinked for me. And that'd be it from 4 o'clock every day. So then I was knackered all day, then I'd work all day, and then I'd oh, it's 5 o'clock, I have a drink. And then it just got into this huge pattern. And I was kind of observing myself going, this is not great. And then, what happened is a really good question. I wouldn't say there was a specific moment, but I just thought, I'm just not going to have a drink because I want to be able to sleep. It was really selfish. It was just if I don't have a drink, I'm not sure I'll be able to get to sleep because I'm so used to having a drink. But I will be, you know, will I, but I feel like I'm going to sleep better and feel better when I wake up. So anyone who drinks will understand what I say when I say you wake up at 4, your heart's going, you're feeling the doom, you just want to do anything but go back to sleep, but you can't because the alcohol's, you know, the stimulants still there, but the sedatives worn off. And it's just that horrible feeling. You start thinking about all the worst things you've ever done in your life start coming back to you. You know, you're in the dark, you're by yourself. It's like the doom is there. And then you get back to sleep and then you wake up after an hour and you feel fine again. And you're like, oh, I forgot about that doom hour that I had, right? But I just thought, I just don't want that. It's just know that's not good for me. So well, I'm just not going to have a drink. So I went on Catalyst, actually. That's kind of, I think that probably was a turning point. I went on the Catalyst trip, and that's normally quite a boozy trip. So I was kind of like, I got there and I was like, oh, we need booze for the house. And everyone was a bit like, well, whatever. And I ordered delivery. So I spent like 80 quid getting alcohol, basically, and a few snacks to the house. And then I was like, right, we're having a drink. And everyone was a bit like, we'll have a drink. So I sort of had a glass of wine, but it wasn't like, let's have a drink. It was kind of like, yeah, we'll have a drink. And Patrick, who's on Catalyst, doesn't drink at all. And it was just like a different vibe. And I was thinking, oh yeah, we don't need to have a drink. It's all right. We're going to go out. We did go out. We did have a few drinks and stuff. And I remember we got back in and I looked at the wine and I was like, I just don't want to drink. I've had a couple of drinks. I don't want any more to drink. So I was drinking tea. So I was drinking tea before bed. Anyway, I went to sleep, slept like a baby, woke up, felt loads better. And I was like, oh, maybe that's the secret. No drinking after 9 o'clock. So that was my new thing. No drinking after 9 o'clock. So it did help me feel a lot better. But then I was just cramming it in between 5 and 9 instead of spreading it out. I was like, so when I got back and I had a couple of days back home, I don't know, just something happened to me. I just thought, those mornings are horrible. I don't want that. So I thought, I'm just not going to have a drink. So I didn't have a drink one night, slept right through, I felt amazing. And I just woke up and I thought, that's it. It's a gift to myself. And this is what I messaged you about.
Yeah.
And, you know, full disclosure, I messaged you a couple of months ago, didn't I? And I was like, are you still working with people? Because that was when I sort of realized this isn't great. But unfortunately for you and your business, that was kind of enough for me to think this is not great. I've got, I'm admitting to myself that I want to reduce my drinking and to somebody else, to Stephanie. So that was the kind of almost like enough for me. Yeah. So then I started not drinking when I was kickboxing the next day. Because if anyone's ever tried training when you're feeling a bit fuzzy, it's not that much fun. So I didn't stop drinking on a Monday. And I slept great for a Tuesday morning. And I stopped on a Wednesday. Started great. And I'm just like, it's just a gift. So kind of now I'm at a point where, and even doing this, I was a bit like, it's a bit early to be saying, this is me. I don't drink 3 nights a week or 4 nights a week. But actually now I'm like, I love my no drinking nights. And I love my no drink the night before mornings more than anything. What a gift to myself. I feel a million times better in myself. I've lost weight. I feel so much better. I don't feel like I'm controlled by it at all. I'm still drinking, having a couple of drinks the weekend, but my whole consumption has just come right down. Like, because I knew I was having this call with you. I was like, last night, I was like, I am going to have a drink. I'm just going to see how it makes me feel. Really, so I'm all into mindfulness, right? So I'm like, yeah, right, so we're going to drink this mindfully. So I've got measures because I've got a bar at home. That's another thing. I've got a bar at home and a nightclub in the basement and all that. So I measured out 125 and I put it in my nice glass and I was, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, sipped it. And I was just like, don't even enjoy it. Don't even like the taste of it. Because there's no social thing going on. I just didn't see the point. And then I felt I only had a 125 and my cheeks went a bit flushed. And I felt my heart rate went up a little bit. And I used to think I have to have a drink while I'm cooking because it makes me, it's part of my ritual. And I loved wine with food. I was like, it doesn't make any difference to the cooking or the food. And I started drinking glasses of juice. And I used to drink juice because I thought, for kids. Drinking glasses of juice. And I'm like, this is really delicious.
Yeah, I mean, it tastes really good.
It tastes really good. And I had that 125 and I just thought, don't even want, it doesn't even lead to more drinks either. It's really interesting. So 2 wines is if I'm out socially, so I go to the pub all the time, 2 wines is my sweet spot. 2 small, 1, 2,
Yeah.
5, sweet spot. Yeah. Round, I'm with
Brilliant.
my mum and dad. We're out, you know, we're having a laugh. I'm in a really good social setting. That wine seems to taste delicious. And I feel happy and I feel buzzed. And then I come home and I drink juice and tea and I go to bed. And by the time I go to bed, I'm fine. I'm completely sober and I sleep all night. That to me is like my happy place. But when we go out and I have 4 wines now, that is not my happy place. That is like, feels like so much drink. And it makes me feel, it's so weird me even talking about this, but you know what I mean? It's like, it makes me feel, I don't know, it makes me feel unhappy. I think that's what I would say. Too much drink makes me feel unhappy. Whilst I'm drinking it, or the effects of drinking it, and definitely in the morning, but more the mornings for me. It's like I have to make, I make a decision now, a conscious decision. It's like, do I want to feel good for an hour, which is what the 2-3 glasses of wine will do? I'll feel good for an hour. But is that going to make me feel bad for an hour tomorrow? And is that what do I want? Is it worth it? So like on Friday, we went to the comedy store with Stu's sister, and it was a birthday, and I had little wines, and I probably had over the whole 3 or 4 hours we were out more than I would normally have. So maybe I had 4 or 5, and I was really drunk. I was really, really drunk, but I kind of like made that decision with myself. I was like, I'm having a great time, we're watching the comedy, blah, blah, blah. But I knew deep down it was going to make me feel like crap the next day. And it did. I felt awful the next day. But it was kind of like a conscious choice to say, I'm going to take the hit now, and I'm definitely going to feel worse later. But it's just been a complete mindset shift. That's all I can say. It's weird.
I love it. I love it. It makes me so happy. I just think it's brilliant because I mean, I've followed your stuff for years, as you know, and I've done your course, and I, you know, I'm not, but if people want to drink, they want to drink, and you know, we've spent time together and we've talked about it, and it's fine. Like you do you, I'll do me. But inside, I was like, I wonder if she drank less, how that would impact on her sort of performance.
Let me tell you how it impacts my performance. And this is deadly serious. Is it brings me peace. And when I've got peace, so when I feel at peace, so my anxiety is down, I feel connected, I feel present, I feel there, like in my body, which I don't feel when I'm hungover. And I think when you're a drinker, which I would still class myself as a drinker, but when you're a drinker and you're drinking all the time, you forget that level of not being quite in your body isn't normal, because you're always sort of topping up a little bit. It's a bit like when you're pregnant and you think, I feel absolutely awful. And after 12 weeks, you think, I feel great. And it's not, you just got used to the awful feeling of all the stuff going on in your body. It's a bit like that. So what it's given me is peace, right? Which doesn't sound very exciting, but as an entrepreneur,
Priceless. Peace is priceless. If we were selling peace, oh my God, well, I do sell peace, but yeah.
So in terms of tangible difference, what difference is it making to me? And this is not just the days I haven't had a drink night before. This is just overall. I am so much more at peace with myself. I don't have any of the guilt and shame that I used to feel. I've drank too much. I've had a row with somebody, probably Stu. Do you know what I mean? No, we don't really fall out, but I can count in 2-3 years now. We've maybe had 4 or 5 arguments where I've been really upset. You know, we've had a row, and I would say 4 out of those I've been had a drink. You know, it's not great. You know, and I think, would I have got so upset or rowed like that if I'd have been sober? No, because you just wouldn't, would you? It just makes you. So there's that, and I just cannot see that happening in my future again. Getting drunk and arguing, just don't think that's going to happen. So it gives me a lot of peace. I don't have any guilt and shame about stuff that I might have done in the past, because that's all gone now. But I think when you're hungover or when you had a drink and you wake up in that state, all that stuff kind of comes flooding back, and you get sort of paranoid, I guess is the word, isn't it? Paranoid and overthinking and thinking about things that you could normally just put in a box. It's like opens that box, right? So I feel like that box lives on, which is nice. And that, again, it's your peace, isn't it? But what peace really gives me in a tangible way as an entrepreneur and as somebody who's very, very focused on my business and the growth of my business and the impact of my business, and I'm super passionate about it, is it allows me to be connected with it, with my business, with myself, and my creativity and my entrepreneurial spirit, if you like. It allows me to dial into that so much easier. And on an actual tangible thing, is it's made me really much better at my own boundaries. So I've really reduced the amount of work I do in the day. So now I've got it down to 1 or 2 hours a day. And that gives me time, right? So time I used to fill with my anxious, slightly hungover, waiting for a drink time, with almost like manic, busy work. Now I'm like literally might do some EFT, or I'm going to put a meditation on, or I'm going to do something nice for myself. I'm walking all the time. I walked the other night, walked to the pub and had a fizzy water, Stephanie. That happened.
I love it. It's brilliant.
I literally, as I walked in, because my local, she got the wine glass out and went, Malbec. I went, just have sparkling water today. She went, okay.
Looked at you a bit strangely.
Yeah, there's going to be an adjustment period. And I think, but it's almost like, why do I want to? And it's really funny because I walked back from the pub and it was Tuesday and Stu was working away and the kids were home. And I said, right, we'll get a takeaway. We'll get an Indian. All the Indians are shut on a Tuesday, and I forgot. So I was like, well, I'll just drive and pick one up from the restaurant. And Megan was like, when was the last time? She came with me. She went, when was the last time you drove at 8 o'clock? So that was her exact words. And it's like, oh yeah, because normally I'd have walked to the pub, had a couple of drinks, walk back, not be able to drive. Then we can't get the takeaway. So, so there's this kind of like domino effect of just be able to sit and watch the telly and remember it. Like be able to not have to watch a program twice, because I've fallen asleep. I can't remember last time I fell asleep on the sofa, apart from like, it's the afternoon, I'm having a nap sort of thing. So none of that, like passing out, that sounds worse, but you know what I mean? Just like, oh, I'm really tired, falling asleep earlier than you would. So I'm like going to bed at the normal time. I'm taking my water and getting myself in bed. I'm reading my book, because you've had half a bottle of wine. Can't really see your book. You might feel you can just lie in bed and watch telly or whatever, but you can't really focus on reading a book. I like historical fiction. You've got to be awake for that, And so reading my book, going to sleep at a normal time. I always say, Stu, because when we wake up, Stu always goes, you sleep all right? Because it used to be, I've been awake since 4. I'm hot. I'm like trying not to wake him up, but I'm like just not in I'm on my phone or whatever. And I'm literally like,
like something out of a Disney movie with the
exactly my words. I'm like, I feel like a Disney princess this morning. I feel so fresh. And he's like, great. And he loves to drink, and he's, exactly like I was. So I'm not putting any pressure on him. I never would. But I definitely can see his consumption coming down a little bit, which can only be a good thing. And it's almost like when we go out and have a drink together, that's the occasion. It's like, oh, we're going out, we'll have a couple of drinks and we'll go for something. And that to me is the occasion, whereas before I just drank every night. So it wasn't an occasion. It was just, where are we drinking? Are we at home or are we at the pub?
Yeah.
So I'm just, hearing all these words coming out of my own mouth feels like an out of body experience. It's like, who even am I? It's almost like it's out of my control. It's obviously your impact over the years. Plus, I have read books like The Naked Mind and then just like put them to one side. Sobriety is becoming a lot more trendy. And I love what you teach, which is about moderation. And, it's not all about, we've all got to give it up and never drink again and all the rest of it. But I can totally see why people just give it up now.
Yeah, because it is that what you're talking about there, peace, connected, time, better relationships, all from reducing your drinking. Like, people think there's something wrong with us when we're talking about this stuff. That, oh, so you just reduced your drinking and you got all this. It's like, yeah. And then it's the gift that keeps on giving. Like you said, you're like out driving and you're like, I never do this, but now I can. Yes.
It's so good. And I've read about it and I've seen other people doing it. I just didn't believe it. And now it's almost like I'm attracting it. So we did a mastermind day. Normally, again, quite a boozy thing after. We go to the Chinese and all the rest of it. And I had two small Malbecs, but the 2 people I was with didn't drink at all. And it's like almost like these people are being drawn to me now. And it's just absolutely fascinating. It's almost like I said, oh God, I'm going to turn into one of those people, aren't I? I'm going to be doing ice baths and blooming Wim Hofing. So it's like wild water swimming is in my future. I feel like I'm just going for it, but it's given me, like you say, it's not taking anything away.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm missing out. I don't feel like I'm suddenly can't have a drink, or I'm not drinking, or I'm not a drinker, or it's a problem. No one's even noticed. That's the most interesting thing. I remember when I gave up smoking, and the most disappointing thing was no one cared. It's like such a big deal for me. I'm such a heavy smoker, and I cold turkeyed it, and I stopped smoking, and I was so proud of myself. And it was like, doesn't really, if no one else cares. And I was like, oh yeah, of course. And it's a bit the same with this. I was like, yeah, but if I stop drinking, everyone's going to be like, oh, and like literally, no one cares. No one's noticed. They're like, you're drinking or you're not. I'm not bothered. And I think it's great that society is definitely moving in that direction, but it hasn't taken anything away. I don't feel like I'm having to deprive myself or white knuckle my way through it. I mean, I do. Like last night, I really was mindful about it, and I was kind of like thinking about it, but a little bit more. But I still do think about wine at 5 o'clock. It's like it's ingrained in me. I'm like Pavlov's dog, right? I'm like, oh yeah, but the biggest thing someone told me about giving up. So I've got extremely addictive personality, and I've given up lots of things that are bad for me. I feel like maybe that's why I was hanging on to the drink. So I was like, it's my last thing.
That's a story, right? The addictive personality is a story. It's not really.
It's not even a thing. Yeah, it's not even a thing. It's something people say that have got no willpower.
Yeah.
Hedonistic, that's what I would say. I'm a bit like, I'm just going to do what I want to do in the moment. But so I did read somewhere, or someone said to me, it wasn't even about drinking, it was about something else, but they said, you can say no to yourself. And that was like a revelation. So at 5 o'clock, I'm like, oh, I could have a wine. And then I was like, oh, I could say no to the wine and say yes to the nice morning. And it's like literally having that conversation in my head. But there was a point, Stephanie, the other day where there was no wine in the house. I cannot remember that point happening for any of my adult life.
This is very exciting. And what I need to do is mark in my diary to do this again in a year's time.
Oh my God,
I need to prepare. That'd be good. So tell me, just before we wrap up, so what's going to happen with the Lives with Wine?
Good question. So again, last launch I was like on this track. So what I did is I poured a glass every night and I sipped it. So I did pour it, but I didn't really drink it. I sipped it, but it was literally for show, not the wine. Really interesting. So I'm still going to do the Live with Wine. I still do like a wine. I'm doing my launch all next week, but yeah, I am thinking, what about my no drinking Mondays and Wednesdays? I don't want to mess those up. So I will probably have a sip and that'll be it.
Lives without wine.
Lives without wine. I mean, I could get juice, non-alcoholic wine, whatever. Like if I really didn't want to do a wine, but I probably will have a drink. But I just can't believe I'm having this conversation. It's like it's happening to me. Not. And it's interesting because you must see this all the time. And it must be really frustrating for you. It's a bit like me teaching the same thing over and over again and people not taking my advice and then coming back to me 3 years later like, I took your advice now and it's all these good things have happened. And you just got to have patience, haven't you? And just be like, I'm just going to keep saying the same things and I'm here for you when you're ready. And that's okay.
Yeah, but that's what I love about this stuff and why I wanted to have this conversation with you is because you understand because of what you teach, how it's like repetition, persistence, and that stuff, it just goes in, doesn't it? Like I tell people to follow you and to follow Shah. And you don't have to sign up for their courses, just follow them because then it just goes in, the information.
Osmosis. So yeah, I mean, if somebody's watching this and thinks, oh, I follow Helen and I know she loves wine and it's really interesting that she's not drinking every single night anymore, then give it a go. That's what I would say. I mean, I didn't make a big song. I didn't make a big announcement, big song and dance about it. I just sort of thought, let's just not have a drink tonight and see how it goes. And then see, and I've just kind of treating it as a bit of an experiment. But so far, early days, I'd say I've gained a lot. I feel a lot happier in myself overall. Everything has been a benefit, been no negatives to it. So I can highly recommend it. And I've gone from drinking every night to not drinking 2 or 3 nights a week. So no big drama, but massive difference compared to the amount of effort I've had to put in to not do something, which is fine, isn't it? It's like I just don't do something 3 nights a week. It's not like I have to do something extra. It's like I just don't do something. I just drink something else in the glass. And the benefits overall over the week are huge. I can recommend it highly.
I highly recommend it as well.
Yes.
It's a really good idea.
Yes.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thank you very much, Helen. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. No, thank you, Stephanie, for showing up and being you, because it's made a huge difference to me. So thank you.
Ah, and you. And we'll come back in a year, definitely.
Love that.
See what's happening. Brilliant.